They don't get the radicalism we're up against. You know, I actually had the privilege of asking a question of Karen Bass. Karen Bass is a California congressman. Karen Bass is the head of the Congressional Black Caucus. And Karen Bass is being strongly considered to be Joe Biden's running mate. Now, no one's asking her tough questions, obviously. So I was offered the opportunity by Alex Michelson, who's an anchor at Fox in LA, to come on and ask Karen Bass any question I wanted. So I asked her a question about her troubling support for Marxists. She works very closely with and supports the Black Lives Matter movement, which we've talked about on this show. The leaders of BLM refer to themselves as trained Marxists. One of them took a photo with the communist dictator of Venezuela, and Congresswoman Bass herself has expressed support for Fidel Castro, praised Fidel Castro when he died. So my question to her with that context was very simple. I said, Representative Bass, are you willing to disavow Marxists? And if you are, assuming that you are, why do you continue to support self-described Marxists? Here's her answer.
That's very interesting because I've known Black Lives Matter individuals for quite a while, and I have never known of Black Lives Matter to be a Marxist organization. You know, one of the challenges with organizing today that's very different when I was coming up is that we did have more solid organizations, whereas now you can have people who are affiliated with a lot of different groups. So that's a Black Lives Matter chapter that I'm surely not aware of.
Oh, she's surely not aware of that Black Lives Matter chapter, except it's not a chapter, it's the national leadership, and I have proof that she is aware of them. Here is Patrisse Cullors, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, describing both describing herself and her co-founder, Alicia Garza, as trained Marxists.
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might... I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Of course we know they're versed on this ideological theory of Marxism. Anybody who reads the About Us section of the website of BLM would know that. I mean, they use the word comrades a lot. They want to abolish the police, and they want to abolish the, quote, Western prescribed nuclear family. So it's very strange to me that Karen Bass, who works with BLM, wouldn't know the national leaders and wouldn't have heard this very now viral clip of them openly describing themselves as trained Marxists. So I did like 2 seconds of Googling, and I found out, wait a second, Karen Bass actually does know them. There's a photo of Karen Bass speaking with Patrisse Cullors in Congress. And then Congresswoman Bass tweets out afterward, thank you to Alicia Garza and Patrisse Cullors for joining the Black Caucus for a forum on police brutality this morning. Congress needs to act. So not only did she have this conversation in Congress on the record, she later tweeted about it. So this idea that she doesn't know them is a flat-out lie. After she lied, Alex Michelson, the anchor of the program, pushed her on the question of her support for Fidel Castro, and she ducked that one too.
If I had to do it over again, I probably would have deleted that if it offended people. But again, promoting the relations between our two countries, I would never do that over again.
She would probably not use that phrase if it offended people. If it offended people. This is a non-apology apology. This is sorry, I'm not sorry. She doesn't regret supporting this Fidel Castro's evil ideology. She doesn't regret supporting his brutality. She regrets it if it offends people. My question was, will you disavow Marxism? She wouldn't. She didn't. She denied the premise, then she lied, then she deflected, and she never did. Why didn't she? Because of course she's not willing to disavow Marxism. Compare this to the way that Trump is treated. Trump every single day is told, disavow white supremacy. He goes, I disavow. Yeah, but do you really disavow it again? Okay, I disavow white supremacy. It's terrible. Remember Charlottesville, where he allegedly called white supremacists and neo-Nazis very fine people? Remember, in the exact same breath, when he talked about how there were fine people on both sides of the monument issue, he said, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists who should be condemned totally. Remember how multiple times during the campaign, they said, why won't you condemn David Duke? He says, I condemn David Duke. I don't know David Duke. Sure, I condemn, I disavow. Doesn't matter, it's never enough. And yet this woman, seriously being considered for Joe Biden's running mate, is asked a simple question: do you disavow Marxism after all the support you've shown for it over the years, repeatedly and continually? She refuses to do it. This video is sponsored by BlinkSale, the revolutionary invoicing software for contractors and small businesses. Spend less time billing and more time making bank with BlinkSale. Get a free trial at the link in the video description.